Welcome to Stoughton Media Access Cable's Hometown Business Show. Today, we've got an exciting show for you, and we promise you're going to learn a lot. So I'm here with Marshall and Don Reardon, and this, we have the pleasure of sharing with you, is their first day in operation in Stoughton. It's a great entrepreneurial effort, and it's going to be called
Base Camp, sir.
Base Camp at Hallmark Systems.
Okay, at Hallmark Systems. So tell me, if you would, Don, the genesis of this idea. What is it you guys are doing, and how did it start?
Well, we were looking at an alternative way to help people with their pains, and it would be a way that they wouldn't have to go to acetaminophen or ibuprofen or anything that has to do with that would hurt your internal organs. As my father has end-stage renal disease, and myself, I have to have a bilateral knee replacement. I was looking for something that would ease my pain without going into any kind of psychotropic activity such as marijuana, THC. So the CBD does a great job with that because it's an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, just an overall good.
Let's bring the audience into what exactly you do. So CBD, that's sort of, we're just throwing that term out there. What are we actually talking about that you guys are selling?
So we are selling products that contain CBD extracts in it, and we also sell...
So is that marijuana?
No, sir. It
Okay.
comes from the marijuana plant itself, but it has no THC in it, therefore it is completely legal, and it has no psychoactive chemicals. Therefore, it will not get you high.
So then nobody's going to come here because they won't get high.
No, sir.
no. Okay.
As a veteran of the U.S. Army for 5 years,
Okay.
I have a lot of mostly joint pain in my back and in my knees, and the CBD oil is very well for specifically anti-inflammatory, and without it, I wouldn't be able to walk as normally as I would. And it's a better alternative to taking pain medicine as of like Oxycontin, Oxycodone. I'd rather take something a little bit more natural and
So it is
healthier.
organic.
Yes, sir.
And CBD stands for cannabinoid? Is that the
Cannabinoid
translation?
oil.
Cannabinoid
Yeah, yes.
oil? Okay. And I do want to kind of foreshadow for the audience, we also have a couple of sort of industry experts that we're going to bring on in
Right.
a bit. And they're going to share a little bit more about the chemical components and maybe how it interacts with the body and things like that. But before we do that, you got this idea, Don, in a way to help your dad who's having trouble. So
Yes.
tell us about that experience.
Well, my father has end-stage renal, and when you have end-stage renal, he has to go to dialysis 3 days a week. With that, they take 4 to 5 liters of fluid out of his body. When you get that, you have dehydration and cramping throughout your stomach, your abdomen, and your legs.
You're okay with me. You already said acetaminophen good. So you can mess up with the abdomen. That's much easier. But go
Sorry.
ahead.
And so I give him the CBD water that replenishes his body right away, and also I cook with CBD oil in his food. So it helps him maintain the homeostasis that he needs in order to function every day.
So it sounds like you guys have not fallen into, but chosen a product line to help people handle everyday pain, aches and pains.
Yes, sir. And especially...
You can tell you're in the military. Yes, sir. Is like,
Oh,
wow, I know.
absolutely, yeah.
You're
It's
okay.
a hard habit to kick.
Okay.
But which I like. It also helps with a lot of psychological and neurological problems with as of insomnia. I have a lot of trouble sleeping, and if I do notice if I take CBD products before I go to sleep, it helps me get that full 6 to 8 hours. And also, it's very good for anxiety.
Okay, so let me just step just a little bit. So this base camp is part of Hallmark Systems that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And as you notice that your product line is being outpaced by technology,
That's correct.
you started looking around and saying, I've got to change with the trends.
Exactly.
Yes.
So tell me more about that you've made this conscious decision, we're going to push forward in a different direction. And that's so hard to do. I think as a business owner myself,
Right.
we're always trying to keep a good eye on where are the trends, how do we make changes, and how did you do that?
Well, I not only did I want to see the trend, I was seeing there was an absolute need for it. The need to get away from the opioids and kind of medication that people are using, because it's as you know, we're having a pandemic with the opioid crisis. So is there something that can help us with anti-seizure, for sleep, PTSD, anti-inflammatory, our pains, everyday stuff? So I looked into CBD and I said, well, this would be great for us. And then if it's good for me, why can't I share this with somebody? And then with them, they can go on and on and on. And I figure it's going to be a good business. We're not looking to get rich, but we're looking to help too. It's kind of a teetering effect of like trying to get a new business and help people at the same time.
And you were telling me off camera that as a distributor that you're sourcing locally. Tell me a little bit about that and how that you were kind of brought up to think about. We always try to do business locally. So tell us about that.
Well, since we've been in business since 1978, and my uncle and my father owned Hallmark Systems, and we were always taught to source business locally. So if you want to do printing and stuff, you go to a local company. If you want to do buy your cars, you go to a local place.
Yep.
So we looked into CBD and we were like, listen, who around us that is sustainable and that will make the product. So that's what we were doing, to kind of keep business local rather than going out.
So a Massachusetts company or
Multiple Massachusetts companies or New England companies is what we're aiming for. So.
Okay, so I think we'll ask our experts about how it's
Right.
grown and things like that. but-
Yes, they would tell you much
Right.
better.
Before we do that, though, maybe you could just pick up a couple of products and show me what they are on camera. So I think right
exactly.
behind you, you could maybe grab one that you're familiar with, and perfect.
Particularly, this is my favorite product.
Okay.
It is CBD water, but it's nano infused, or not infused. It is pretty much the particles are made smaller, so it absorbs in your body not only faster, but more efficiently.
Could you describe to the audience that, like, is there a feeling that comes from drinking the water, or do you just not notice it at all? And
The best way I could explain it is, I would compare it to taking an ibuprofen 800 milligram, but with no adverse effects as, how, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I take ibuprofen, my stomach starts to hurt a little bit. And
Okay.
we all know it's bad for your liver.
Okay.
The worst thing that could ever happen with taking too much CBD product is literally nothing. You cannot take too much of it and have adverse effects.
Because it has no, like, psycho
Exactly.
effects. I don't know what the right
And
phrase
it's all
is.
natural.
Well, it's all natural, and as you said, there's no psychoactive.
Psychoactive is the word.
Yes,
yeah.
psychoactive
So and it's like,
compounds
is it
at
kind of like a
all.
vitamin then? Is that what you'd say?
A little bit, maybe. It's pretty much the best way to explain it is marijuana, but no bite to it, no high. It's you get 100% of the benefits as marijuana when it comes to the anti-inflammatory, the antioxidant properties, the benefits that it has on your mental health. Like I said, I have a lot of trouble with insomnia, and CBD products really does help with all that stuff. And there's literally no adverse effects to it. If
So
it doesn't work for you,
totally
it doesn't
legal.
work.
I mean, no one's going to be pulled over
It's legal
for
in
having
all
it in
50
your
states.
car, right? It's not like a license. Do you need a license?
You don't need a license to sell it.
You will not be under the influence
Or
under any circumstance.
So it's
by
very
taking it.
unusual new product, especially
Yes.
to my generation. If it had marijuana in it in my
Yes.
generation,
Well,
you
even
got
to me,
high. So
I'm still very young, but I was gone in the military, federal employment for 5 years, and so I kind of fell behind on the times. And I came back, and it was like something brand new to me. And I was like, where has this product been my whole life? Or, for the last couple of years while I've been aching, and, aching with my joints, pains, and also insomnia.
okay. Well, what I'd like to do now is to bring. You have some consultants.
I do.
So tell me the names again. It's
Mari and Evan.
Mari and Evan. Let's bring Mari and Evan right online. So we'll have you guys scooch to that side, and I'll switch sides with Mari and Evan. So Mari and Evan, thank you for being here and
Thank you for having
being
us.
willing to share your information.
Of course.
So my understanding is that you support this space camp operation.
Mm-hmm.
You try to educate them, and you bring in products for them and things like that. So
That's
How would you start, and let me start with you, Mari. How would you start explaining the benefits of the product or what got you interested in this product line?
So pretty much what got me interested in CBD itself was I've been in the industry. I own my own smoke shop up in Vermont, and I was in the business of distributing glass to other companies. And that whole industry has kind of fell off to the competition of China.
Okay.
And so from there, I was really looking for something else to get into to also hold my business over, since I'm very seasonal, so I need to find other things to kind of hold me over. And
You found this trend, I would say.
yeah, my friend called me one day and
Yeah.
he was like, "You have to get into the CBD thing. It's gonna take off. It's gonna take off." And at first, I really didn't believe him. And then I went with him to a couple shows and started getting involved. And I realized how many people are actually benefiting from this. Not like it's not just for profit. It's he's actually enjoying himself. And I found that I started to enjoy myself also, because there's a lot of different people with a lot of different things going on with them, and to help them in some sort of direction to feel better was a great feeling. And then I just kind of went off from there, started meeting different people. I went to high school with Evan, and he's also started to get a lot of interest in this whole CBD thing, and we're just really trying to get the knowledge out there now and help people understand what it is and how it can help, and try, especially with this whole opiate epidemic going on, like Don was saying, this is really something that can help people for an alternative when they're getting off of things like that, and to help.
Right, and it's non-prescription and things like that. So, Evan, I understand that you have a sports medicine degree.
Yep, that's right.
And people like myself, by the way, are always getting hurt, whether it's mountain biking or playing scratch football or whatever, things like that. So tell us how this might be a product that will help.
So CBD works on the endocannabinoid system, and what that does is it's a system inside your brain. It's an endogenous biological system.
Excuse me, I told you you would learn a lot on this show, so pay attention now.
So,
This is good. So an endogenous, what does that
The
mean? So you can help us
endogenous,
along here.
endogenous means that it's already inside of your body. It's already a system that's already there. So what the endocannabinoid system does is it regulates mood, it regulates appetite, it can regulate sleep cycles, and perception of pain, things like that. So a lot of the heavy, hardcore drugs, they'll use the endocannabinoid system, and
So the system within the body
Within
that
the-
has receptors.
yep,
Okay.
so the drugs and the pharmacological medications they have now will work on the endocannabinoid system and other systems in the body. So CBD works on the endocannabinoid system by itself, and it can, it regulates everything from, like I said, mood, appetite, pain perception. So it's also a neuroprotectant. So the brain has a bunch of firing neurons and axons, and that's what transfers all the electronegativity and all the electrical impulses in the brain. And what CBD will do is it will encapsulate the neuron and protect it in terms of, like, so if there's some trauma or if there's concussions, there's some, with Alzheimer's and degenerative brain diseases, there's breakdowns of those neurons. So CBD will protect all the neurons and and stop them from, well, slow the process of the breakdown, which contributes to Alzheimer's and a number of other degenerative
MS,
neurological disorders.
Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Hold that thought just for a minute. Aren't you glad I didn't ask you guys that question? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All
I
right, so,
still learn something new every time I talk to them.
okay. So the idea is that it would create balance then? Would that be a fair statement or no?
In the West Coast, CBD is massive. It's being incorporated in hospitals. Private practices are adopting it. Out west, there's full-blown legalization of marijuana. Here, we're still working on that. So they're using CBD to treat children and adults with seizures.
And this is a THC-free.
So, yes.
Exactly.
Cross.
So CBD is not only derived from cannabis, it's also a hemp-derived product, and that's how basically we're able to sell it in all 50 states, because it's not cannabis-derived. And since it is 100% hemp-derived, that is how states are getting around the laws to be able to get this out to the people. And
Is it
states like,
synthetic?
it's not synthetic.
Okay.
all natural.
It's all natural. It's from the hemp plant itself. There's also a thing called full spectrum CBD, and that is the full plant, the full hemp plant, but that does has very small traces of THC. Some people find that added THC to CBD gives it some added benefits, especially to chronic neurological type things going on, chronic pain. And some people feel like they don't need the THC. Some people actually have different effects to THC that they don't like necessarily. Not that it would harm them, but it's something they don't like to feel. So if you do straight CBD, it will also help you with things that with THC would also, but without the psychoactive.
So
Right.
CBD is a huge anti-inflammatory. It's a big anti-anxiety. Helps a lot of people with sleep. So I have a friend who was also in the Army, and I helped him out and gave him some CBD sleep aid. And he told me that he's never fallen asleep so happy, stayed asleep for as long as he did, and has woken up. He's never waken up so happy in his entire life since leaving the military. Myself, I have pretty bad anxiety. I'll take a little bit of CBD, it just calms me right down, and I'm still able to do all my work, homework, and assignments and everything like that without the cloudiness and the kind of psychoactive effects of the THC.
So what would you guys say to your detractors who would say, wait a minute, this is just a masking of independent activity on your own? Like or, what sort of complaint, and what would you say to that complaint?
Like if somebody was saying that was like they had a dependence on it or something
Yeah,
like that?
I don't know, or anything,
There's
yeah.
definitely a big stigma when you talk about CBD, and they say, oh, it's marijuana, it's
Mostly
cannabis.
in the older age too. Like you don't find that so much with younger people in like their early 20s.
Those Dino people.
I didn't mean it like that offensively, but it is true. People usually that are a little older they're just completely blocked off to this. They've been around the reefer madness stages, and that was huge towards negative effects towards marijuana. They really want you to think it was something that was bad for society.
So another thing we want to stress too is the non-psychoactive aspect of it. So you're getting a lot of the benefits of cannabis, but you're not getting high, and you're not going to be all cloudy and kind of your scattered thought process. You're going to be nice and mellow.
It's actually a mood stabilizer.
Yeah, it's a heavy mood stabilizer. It's the anti-inflammatory processes. A lot of power lifters use it. A lot of athletes use it because after a workout, the inflammation process will kind of take over. And what CBD will do is kind of inhibit the inflammatory processes, and will lead to like faster recovery and overall general maintenance of muscles and stuff like that.
A lot of stuff that we carry here is by...
Maybe you could show us a couple of products now.
Yeah, some of the products that we work with, the company itself that we distribute is called Isodiol. We work with a couple companies, Isodiol, Herbal Active, CBD Extreme.
So tell us about Herbal Active, if you could, is that this product
So yeah,
here?
this is Herbal Active. Herbal Active uses Isodiol's product to make their products. And
What is Herbal Active? What does it do?
Herbal-
Do you put it in a sandwich? What do you
so
do?
no, Herbal Active is a CBD product.
Okay.
Herbal Active is just the name of the company.
Okay.
So what they do, they produce mostly pet line because mammals, anything with a endocannabinoid system responds very well to CBD. So all mammals respond very well to CBD. So what a lot of companies have started doing is making dog treats. We have cat treats here, dog tinctures. We also, it works very well for horses and stuff like that too. But with dogs, especially for instance, my friend, he adopted this dog. The dog had about 13 tumors on him, all golf ball sized tumors. And so I went to the vet with him actually, and the vet was like, yeah, it's like a grave response, like he's probably going to die soon, and you need to get him this $5,000 surgery if you want to try to get rid of any of these tumors at all. Okay. So my friend didn't have the money for that, so he said, let's go home, we're going to start giving this dog a lot of CBD. So when we started doing that, we dosed the dog pretty high, gave him high doses every day, morning and night on a regimen. And some of those golf ball-sized tumors now have shrunken down to marble-sized tumors. Some have actually turned black into like little black nubs and started to die off, it seems like. And the dog does not seem sick at all.
So I'm thinking that if anyone in the medical community is watching this show, they're like perhaps up in arms saying, there's no clinical tests. These people are,
The thing is, though,
trying to say something that isn't true. What would you say to them?
I mean, I would say to do more research, to tell you the truth, because there is a lot of doctors that back this stuff. The company Isodiol I was talking about is a company out of Sweden that was the first company I started working with, and they are a bunch of doctors that have gotten together. They were working with retired NFL players. They were working with MMA fighters, and only retired NFL players because active NFL players are not allowed to use CBD. They restrict that.
Okay.
So this is a doctor-backed product. This is actually a pharmaceutical grade CBD, if you want to call it anything. But one thing that really surprised me was I was talking to Dawn the other day, and she was telling me that she was at the VA, and you were saying a lot of doctors and stuff, or the nurses there, they had no idea what CBD even was.
Yeah, so
And
let's switch over and just get a little bit of background on
Yeah,
that.
sure.
So tell us about that.
Well, I was telling Mari that I was talking to, one of the nurses was asking how my father's numbers have gone really very, very well. His phosphorus, his levels for his, when he does dialysis, they check his levels. And what are you doing that's different, that why are his numbers so well? I give him a supplement. He goes, what do you give him? I said, well, I do turmeric and I do cinnamon and I do CBD. She stopped dead in her track and she said, I'm sorry, what is CBD? I said, well, you're a nutritionist. Do you want me to get some paperwork for you? She says, I would love to, because I have no idea what CBD is. So I had to tell her about the endocannabinoid system and the CB1 receptors in our brain, in our spinal cord, and our peripheral, and the CB2 receptors, which would be our internal organs. And she was kind of taken back. And then, talking to the doctors at the VA, the same thing. They've never heard of CBD. But don't forget, this is all coming about in the last 20 years, and it's coming out more and more and more. But like Evan was saying, in the West Coast, it's like being fashion forward. They're more fashion forward or idea forward than we are. In the East Coast, we're kind of lagging behind on different things. Even though we have the best doctors in the Boston area, we still don't have the basic understanding of the CBD. That's how I wanted to do that, so we can debunk the myth about CBD being THC.
Why hasn't it been more widely accepted? Why isn't it here 2 years ago? Why is it taking till now?
Actually, that's a really good question. And I believe it's the stigma behind marijuana. Because of the fact, if you say marijuana or cannabis or hemp, people step back, and as Mari said, and I apologize, the older generation say, oh, that's bad. Marijuana, hemp, cannabis, anything of that family, that's bad. Don't take it, You're going to get high, you're not going to go study, you're just going to be a bum that lives on the couch. So I think that's why it's a stigma around that, and that's why we're trying to debunk that and get people. If you don't buy it, if you don't use it, at least know about it before you say, if it's bad or good. You should find more information about it.
So if someone in the audience wanted to come down, and by the way, we're at 354 Page Street in Stoughton, right? They could come down and visit you.
Right.
And you would educate them. You have some literature
I
and
do
things
have
like that.
literature, yeah.
All right, so that'd be a nice way to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I said education and knowledge is the most powerful thing. So I think right now we're trying to bring the knowledge to the people so that they have a choice in something other than the opioids, other than the pain medications that their doctors are giving them. This is a choice, and the pharmaceutical companies are not going to like it, and that's the other thing.
All right, so if you're just joining us, we're down here at Base Camp, which is a wonderful new entrepreneurial enterprise here in Stoughton, Mass. And we just had a wonderful time exploring some of the new products that they have. Among those, CBD, for those of you who don't know, that's a THC-free hemp organic product to help people sleep, to help people have less pain and things like that. And we're bringing in, as a new guest, we're bringing Jason Dino. So Jason, you're Dawn's husband.
Yes, I am.
And you're also Marshall's stepdad.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. So tell us your thoughts on this new business, how you're going to do it and why it makes sense.
The reason why I got involved in this is my father passed away from end-stage renal and Alzheimer's. And to watch my father suffer with Alzheimer's, to not have the ability to bring him relief, I feel, knowing what I've read in the past about what CBD can do for you, I'm all for using a plant-based natural substance than to force feed my father a pill or some type of drug that has all other types of chemicals and things of that nature.
You can tell you're his wife, by the way. Fill in his sentences, I like that.
Unfortunately, my father passed away, and I was never able to see the benefits of CBD for him. But to know what I've seen, what I've read,
Yep.
I'm all in to make sure that you bring relief to a kid suffering in pain or someone as old as, in their 80s.
Could you show this beautiful bag that you guys are selling?
We have these handmade bags from Thailand.
Yeah.
My mother's from Thailand, so we go there every year. We have bags, that are handmade.
college students.
Ah, tell
So
us
you-
that. Tell us what that.
Yeah.
Oh, they like the
Yeah,
sack.
it's a sling over.
A sling over, that was the word I was looking for.
Sling over
For the
bag.
laptop,
Yeah.
couple book
Or
bags.
you go to the beach or anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Okay, very
Carry your
good.
groceries in.
And you also told me that your mom, before she passed away, she had this sock business. And you made a promise that you're going to try to keep that alive. So tell
Yeah.
us about that.
My mother has been selling socks at the flea market, the Wellfleet Flea Market, for 40 years. And we like to have sustainable socks, and that's local socks. And that's made in South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia.
Made in the USA.
Made
so
in the
kinda
US,
Local
local.
USA. Okay.
And over the 40 years, we've seen over 24 mills close down, cotton mills, and they traveled over to like China and stuff. We carry all our socks made in the USA. My mom made me promise to continue selling it because they're good quality.
I was stationed in Fort Wainwright, Alaska,
Yeah.
which for about 6 months out of the year is negative 40.
Wow.
Yes. And I refuse to wear the Army issued polyester, 100% polyester socks because if anyone knows about polyester, it makes your feet sweat. And when it's negative 40, you start to freeze.
Wow.
But these merino wool socks are just so amazing.
And then when you come to the shop, it's not a heady shop or a marijuana store, but there's something else here that you might
It's a
want to
family.
see. It's a family store.
A little bit
So
of
you-
everything.
But what about the CBD? So is
The
is that going to be
CBD?
a
No, I
different
don't-
story?
The CBD, I don't think those store, I don't,
They wouldn't carry it.
Yet.
Not yet. And
I mean, if it's as legit as we are portending on this
Exactly.
show, that it isn't anything hallucinogenic, it's not psychoactive, and it simply does help with pain the way an aspirin or an
In my
acetaminophen
opinion,
would.
they have their
Right.
own pharmacies. Therefore, it wouldn't be in their best interest to carry that kind of product.
I.
Well, let's hope we can get your profits up, all right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I just want to thank the audience for watching from Stoughton Media Access Cable's Hometown Business Show. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
participating and
Thank you very
sharing
much,
this
sir.
wonderful
Thanks for having us.
family business. It's been great.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. And